from Dayton, Ohio, not Jesse. Next up is former Congressman John HOSTETTLER. Mr. HOSTETTLER represented District 8 in the Indiana House from 1995 to 2007. The former congressman was born in Evansville and grew up in rural Posey County. He is an engineer by trade. Former Congressman HOSTETTLER, you may now take the floor for 10 minutes.
Thank you, and I want to thank the New Haven Republican Central Committee for hosting this event in this wonderful venue. My name is John HOSTETTLER, and as was mentioned, I served for 12 years in the United States House of Representatives from 1995 to 2007. However, prior to 1992, politics was not a regular part of activity in the HOSTETTLER household. My wife Beth and I, who now live and did at that time in Posey County, we had 3 children. And following the election of Bill Clinton to the United States presidency, we decided to become much more involved in the political process than we had ever been. And that is why I applaud Mr. Bates and Mr. BEHNEY for their willingness to take this on, because it is no small challenge in a district of 13 counties, much less a state of 92. At that time, I was very concerned about the direction of our country and the direction that a liberal Democrat President, Bill Clinton, and a liberal Democrat-controlled House of Representatives in the United States Senate was taking the country. My particular congressman was very supportive of the policies and the direction that President Clinton was going to take our country. So we decided to get involved, and I decided to put my name on the ballot for the 8th District of the United States House of Representatives. At that time, we were talking about historic issues, such as the federal government taking over the nation's health care system, otherwise euphemistically referred to as Hillary Care. We were also talking about record deficits of over $240 billion. We also were fighting wars on 2 fronts. We had just come out of Somalia, where President Clinton had expanded the mission of the United States military in Somalia from that of protecting the stores coming on shore for medicine and food for the starving people of Mogadishu, to that of trying to capture the warlord Muhammad Aidid, and therefore expanding the role of the military to that of nation building. And then he was discussing the idea of deploying troops in Bosnia-Herzegovina, a place that had no national security interest in the United States. So here we find ourselves in 2008, after the election of another liberal Democrat president, another liberal Democrat-controlled House of Representatives in the United States Senate. And what are we talking about? A takeover of the nation's health care system by the federal government. Record deficits, not in the hundreds of billions, but in the trillions of dollars every year, to the tune of accumulated on-budget debt of over $14 trillion. And we're also talking about wars on 2 fronts, one in Afghanistan and one in Iraq. And what do we do in order to meet our obligations to protect our vital national interests? How close are we coming in Afghanistan and Iraq to turning the mission to protect the United States' vital national interests, to that of nation building in those countries? These are vitally important questions that we are going to face as Republicans take over the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate. What I seek to do as your next senator from the state of Indiana, if you should so choose to elect me, is to take a reliable, conservative, established voting record, the principles that supported that record for 12 years in the House. I wish to take those principles to the United States Senate so that we take on the cause of repealing Obamacare, which can be done. That we stand in the way of cap and trade that would devastate our economy, an economy that is so dependent on the use of cheap energy, especially coal, in power production. We would stand in the way of granting 12 to 20 million illegal aliens amnesty, legal status, which would not only imperil our economy by making millions of more people eligible for federal and state assistance, but would further erode the ability of working Americans Americans to find a job when there are literally millions of more people in that pool to dilute their chances and their opportunities to sustain the American dream. There are a whole host of issues that we are going to discuss tonight. However, the most important issue that we face in this campaign is that of personnel. Ronald Reagan once said that personnel is policy. And I've been getting a lot of questions lately about what we can do to turn this country around. Well, it's a good context. What can we do? You are taking part in that process tonight by being here. I ask that you continue that process on May 4th and ask for your vote for the Republican nomination to face the Democrat in November and ultimately to serve you in the United States Senate. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you. Our fourth and final candidate is Senator Marlin Stutzman. He's actually not here right now. He's running a few minutes late, but he will be here shortly. I will go ahead and do a brief introduction for him, and then we'll get the question and answer portion started. Mr. Stutzman is currently serving as State Senator for District 13. He also served in the Indiana House of Representatives in 2002. The Senator is a fourth-generation farmer who grew up on a farm in Howey, Indiana. Alongside his political duties, he co-owns Stutzman Farms with his father. And now I'd like to call up my good friend, Youth Talk 1190 Bobo's Pat Miller, to help me co-moderate our question and answer portion of the evening.
Good to see you all here. I did just get a text from Mrs. Stutzman, and Marlin's on his way, and he was supposed to be the first speaker at the other event. You guys know how that stuff kind of goes. They ended up making him the last speaker. So what's happening is she said he might be breaking a few laws right now. My first thought was he'll probably be on the Indiana State Police Stop Bates Hall of Fame. And I'm a little concerned about some of the other candidates. First of all, some people said, "Why you get to be up there with Aisha?" We worked together for a while at WOMO, and you notice now she can afford it. They tell you that TV adds about 15 to 20 pounds, and that's fine for her.
I'm sure it adds some height.
Yeah, and radio adds far more weight than you can imagine, which is why I'm I was a little concerned when Wendy Davis spoke down here because I kept saying to myself, I know her, and then she mentioned that she worked felony cases, and I'm like, oh, that must have been it. John McGauley, I am sad to report, still cannot play a recorder, and which is, by the way, my all-time favorite political ad of all times, and so I'm prejudiced. And then I don't know about the rest of you, but when Phyllis mentioned that this was the building that she had taught in all those years, my first thought was, I wonder how many people in this room tonight were beaten by her. You know, and I thought about my teacher from way back then, and I broke into a cold sweat. But it is great to have you all here. I have had the opportunity, all except for Mr. BEHNEY, and we're going to remedy that on my program this Saturday, but I had the opportunity to have all of these gentlemen and Marlin and Senator Coates on my program on Saturday mornings, and we've been very careful to give them equal time and equal questions and to do all that, and I'm just glad to be a part of what's going on here. When we do the questioning later on, it'll be the same for each, and that is when you ask questions from the floor, you direct it to the candidate that you'd like to have speak. They will have about 2 minutes to give their answer. Other candidates then that want to respond to the same question will each have 2 minutes. They don't have to if they don't want to. If they'd like to go longer than 2 minutes and forget the lights down front, they can do that. If you blow by a yellow, it's $10 to Pat Miller. If you blow by a red, it's $30. So, and John HOSTETTLER thinks I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I don't know if you've been watching the news, John. I have to pay for my health care. So, but it is my good pleasure to be here. And I'll tell you why I think tonight is very important. And I'm just going to say it, and then I'll shut up, because you're not supposed to show your prejudice. But when we have finally 4 men on the platform tonight, the reason I think that this is so important, and I know these guys are getting tired, because this is the 5th one that I've watched you guys at, and I can't imagine how many you've done. I believe that out of this pool of gentlemen,